What is up? Happy Friday across the nation. To my peeps, all of my subscribers. Once again, you guys came to my rescue yesterday. I had roughly about a 30-minute long rant about a really dumb, selfish, and almost inhumane comment left by someone that simply said, easy solution. Stop being a selfish drug addict. Being a drug addict is a choice. And I got all kinds of really, really awesome comments on this. And I wanted to reference one of them in particular that came from a guy who's just about been with me from the beginning named Sean. And Sean J said, what about the lab rats that chose food over drugs? Were they being selfish? ? I was like, boom, let's go, baby. Listen, I think it would be really, really sweet if I were able to make a video, put the video out somehow, and then have all of my listeners and subscribers pre-listen, almost like a pre-screening, screen the video for me, and then respond back and say, hey, you might want to mention this. Hey, don't forget about this. Hey, won't you throw this in there? I would have loved to have had that bit of information when I did my response to this hater, troll jackass who left that idiotic comment. And I had a lot of people say a lot of interesting things, and Jasmine brought up, this guy probably dated an addict at some point. One of his parents was probably a really bad drug addict and left a bad taste in his mouth about it and was like an extremely selfish person. That, another great point, it could have been that. These are things I wish I would have known in advance, but hey, it's never too late, right? It's never too late. So before I get started, I have a free service here. My content is free. It doesn't cost you anything. And if you enjoy this type of content, a guy who's just a regular guy, but who has struggled with drug addiction in various forms throughout his life, and talking about all of those embarrassing things that I have done in my past as a result of being addicted to various kinds of drugs. If you enjoy that and you enjoy the candor and the candid nature and the way I'm just completely brutally honest about these things, hit that subscribe button. That's all I ask. A handshake will do. It doesn't cost you anything other than just a second to hit that subscribe button. Don't take the candy from the jar beside the cash register and then not subscribe to the channel. That's all I ask. Don't take the candy and then not drop the quarter in. Just do the right thing, man. That's all I ask. Or don't. Maybe I'll use some reverse psychology on you. Don't subscribe. You know what? Don't subscribe to the channel. I don't want you to subscribe to the channel. Now watch, I'll get like 200 subscribers in one day just because I'll show him. No, I'm gonna subscribe now just because you said that. So funny how people's psychology works. So to go back to Sean J's comment, and I wanted to piggyback off of that a little bit because this is one of those scenarios where when he told me that comment, I had one of those aha moments, You ever had one of those aha moments where, that's right, I did know that. I remember that. I've heard about that study before. And there's several notable things about that. And so the study was done, and I'm not going to quote where this was done. I'm not going to get way deep into the weeds on that because I'm no scientist. But I do remember the study being done by a university where, they took these male and female rats and they push one lever that will give them cocaine or heroin. And then they push the other lever. They were getting food, which is a basic necessity for life, right? Well, all living things have the mode inside them that, I don't want to say requires, but forces them to go after certain basic necessities that allow you to live. What is one of the main necessities that allow you to live? If not, well, it's the main necessity, right? Everything needs to eat. If you don't have sustenance, if you're not taking in calories or energy or calories that you can then convert into energy as a living thing, then you do what? You literally waste away and die. All right? And this is one of those things that all animals, all creatures, including humans, are born with it. Case in point, I have a little boy at home who is literally 3 weeks old. He was just born 3 weeks ago. And he was also born almost a month early. Okay? Now, when he came out of my wife's womb and was officially in the world as a living person, as a baby, do you think anybody had to teach him or show him how to do the sucking motion on a bottle? Nah, he just knew, you know. Well, how did he know? I mean, some people say it's creation of God. That's, that's something that God has built into each person's DNA, the necessity to live. And living requires sustenance, requires food, requires energy, right? So you don't have to teach a living thing to go after food. That's a mechanism internally that they already have on board that they're born with. And if they're not born with it, then you got problems. And that, that animal or creature is going to waste away and die. Perfect example of this is, and I know I'm bouncing around a little bit, but you ever seen a fox or something similar to that gets rabies, right? Well, what kills a fox with rabies before anything else is typically starvation, because the rabies, I think it's a virus. I'm probably going to end up sounding like an idiot because I'm not 100% sure. I think it's a virus. Either way, rabies basically attacks the brain of its victim and turns the brain to mush. And it affects the areas of the brain that control basic things like the desire to eat, the desire to get hungry, having that instinct to, well, I'm hungry. What should I do? Well, I should go find some food. Oh, look, I found some food. What should I do? Well, I should eat it. Or if you're a fox, I should kill it and eat it. When they get rabies, their brain literally becomes dysfunctional in the sense that those triggers are no longer working. So what happens? The fox just basically wanders around, just sniffing around, just walking from place to place, things like being scared of humans. And that's why people get so, typically foxes are terrified of people, and anytime a fox would see a person, the first thing they do is take off running. They're scared, Well, something like rabies will cause them to literally not have that fear impulse anymore. And they'll just, and I've seen a rabid fox up close before, and literally the fox acted like we weren't even there. We were 5-6 feet away at one point to this fox. Of course, before we learned that it was rabid, it was in the road walking around, and my wife and myself and my son drive by it, and there were already a couple more people stopped, and everyone's just kind of standing around like, what's going on with this fox, And eventually, after we saw it does this strange like mouth motion, like this, like it's trying to get something, out of its mouth. And I think it has to do with the mechanism that causes the mouth to foam and things like that. And once we saw that, one of the wiser folks in the bunch who had seen rabid animals before were like, it's rabid. It's definitely rabid. But another thing that alerted us that it was rabid was the fact that it had 5-6 humans standing within 10, 15, 20 feet of it, and it acted like we weren't even there. That's not normal behavior, right? So I say all that to circle back to the fact that the instinct to eat is one of the most basic instincts that we are innately born with as humans. No one has to teach you to want to eat, okay? And a million other things can go wrong in the human brain, including, cerebral palsy, mental retardation, autism, all these things. But still, in spite of all those things that go wrong, those people still become hungry. Those people still have the impulse to eat, right? It is one of the most basic needs and instincts that living creatures have. So in this study, rats actually became addicted to pushing the lever and getting the drugs to a point to where they were choosing the drugs over food and water, right? And from what I understand, a lot of them actually ended up dying of starvation, because they were choosing drugs over food. Now, what does that mean for a drug addict? And before you jump in and say, "Oh, that's a stupid example, man. Those are rats. They can't make subconscious decisions for themselves. We're people. We're smarter than rats." And people have a concept of understanding that you can actually stop doing what you're doing. But here's the thing, and you're right. You are right about that. We're not rats. We're much more intelligent than rats. And, we are able to have forethought and planning, and our level of cognitive ability, as far as planning and, knowing and understanding what could potentially happen to us in the future, obviously way supersedes what rats have. Our brains are perhaps, 50 times the size of a rat, right? Bigger brains, more brain power, more cognitive thought. And so more reasoning is one way to put it, more reasoning. But what this study illustrates is, in the human brain, just like in the brain of a rodent, how important the use of that drug becomes to a user who has become addicted, to a point where basic necessities like food, shelter, water, love is actually, one of the basic needs of children as well. You have to have interaction with other people and loved ones to be able to survive. You will not thrive. You'll fail to thrive in that scenario. But the main one being food and water. So in a person who is a drug addict, that drug becomes such a priority in terms of the way the brain identifies that drug. It's up there with food, even past food. Now again, inevitably someone's going to say, well, yeah, but you're a person, you're smart enough to know that you need food, but you don't have to have the drug. Right. But I want you to think of it this way. Suppose someone came to you right now and say, you know what? Here's a shot. And this is something new that scientists have come up with. Guess what? You no longer have to eat. It's going to save you a lot of money. You don't have to eat anymore. You take this needle every day and you shoot this into your vein, and it's going to give you all of the energy stores and everything that you need. So basically, this shot that you're going to take every day is going to replace your need for food and sustenance. Okay? All your vitamins, all your minerals, all your proteins, everything that a human body needs to function properly is now delegated into this one shot that's going to go in your arm every day. But here's the problem. You get this shot and you don't necessarily need to eat. Your body systems can operate without food because the shot's doing that for you, right? But the problem is it doesn't take away your hunger, right? You're still hungry, right? You still want to eat, you know? You still, when you see food on TV, when you're hungry, you want to have that food. You know, my wife likes to watch all these cooking shows and Master Chef shows and stuff like that. And she always seems to watch them when I'm sitting there waiting for her to finish cooking dinner. My wife can throw down in the kitchen. She's an awesome cook. And I'm sitting over there salivating like, you know what? This is like the worst thing for me to watch while I'm sitting here waiting for dinner, because I'm a person that I exercise too, so I have like a very ravenous appetite, a very voracious appetite. And I'll be sitting there watching all these cooking shows with all this amazing food being displayed, and I'm just like, you know? Anyway, that's kind of a side note. But I want you to imagine this scenario for a moment. If someone comes to you and says, guess what? You don't have to eat anymore. This shot is going to take care of all that. Well, guess what? You're still going to be hungry. All right? You're still going to be hungry. So I want you to imagine, and a lot of people really can't imagine this, but to a certain degree, because how often or how long do you ever really go without eating something, right? I mean, for most people, it's only, a few hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, at the most, that someone will go without consuming some sort of food product, right? Now, but just try to imagine a time where you were just starving, the most hungry that you've ever been. And then somebody coming up and telling you, whoa. No, you don't need that. You don't need to eat that. Remember the shot. And you're like, but I'm still hungry. Everything within my body, every impulse, every thought within my body is telling me to eat. My stomach is growling. I'm having cravings. Do you hear that right now? I mean, do you hear my stomach? It's literally eating itself. I'm starving. No. Just remember, the shot. That's everything. That takes care of all your nutritional needs. You don't need to eat. How long do you think those people that sit on the outside and judge a drug addict for struggling to put down their drug of choice and their substance of choice, how long do you think they would make it in that scenario without eating a meal? It's a fair question. It's a fair question. And sometimes things are simply about perspective. And sometimes you just need some perspective, So this is a way that someone who's never struggled with a drug addiction, per se, that can maybe even begin to grasp, even begin to understand what it is like for a person who has become heavily addicted to drugs, to a point where that drug, in their mind and in their thought processes and in their hierarchy of basic needs, has taken the place of even food and water. Now imagine being the hungriest you've ever been, or the thirstiest you've ever been, and then being told, no, you can't drink that, you can't eat that, no, give me that, you hadn't eaten in 4 days, so give me that burger. No, you don't need that. And imagine being told that, and before any idiots get on the channel and say, well, it's not the same thing. That's not the same thing. You need food, blah, blah. I get that. Gosh, I'm just so done with idiots who can only see things in one way. Black and white. The world is not black and white. I'm looking right now and I see about probably 10 other colors in eye shot of where I'm sitting, right? The world is not in black and white, okay? And this is a way that people can look and just imagine how difficult that is, you know, for somebody who has begun to, their mind and their brain has begun to place that drug in the hierarchy of needs up in front of food and water. Just like the rats. Your brain is telling you you would rather have the drug than even something to eat, even water, right? Now imagine being starving or just parched, you know. You know how you've been out in the hot sun all day, you've been working, you know, and you just, oh, how good it feels just to something cold and you drink it and you just feel like you could just drink for 30 minutes straight without stopping, even taking a breath, you know. Imagine that. And then imagine someone saying, you can't do that. No, man, the shot takes care of it all now. All your nutritional needs. Get it through this shot. Forget about the hunger pains. You know, forget about being parched. Forget about being famished. You know, forget about all that. You know, and I think if people were put in that scenario, I think it would be much easier, you know, for people to understand. And I see people all the time, and I'm not, you know, I talked about yesterday people at my work that are, I listened back to my video and I made a point about these people claim to be Christians, but they're, you know, chewing tobacco all the time or drinking coffee steadily all the time, all day, caffeine, caffeine, caffeine. You know, half of them have bellies, you know, out to here, you know. And once I listen back to it, I'm like, nah, dude, that sounds bad, you know, because remember, I'm not judging them. You know, that's between them and themselves and God. You know, I'm not judging any of them. I'm not saying because they have an addiction to cigarettes that they're not a Christian. I'm not saying because they chew snuff and it could possibly eventually cause them to get mouth cancer and then their jaw fall off. I'm not judging them for that. You know, I'm not saying that there's any dissension in their lives or in their families because of it. I mean, you know, if you go back to selfishness, I mean, you have to categorize that with selfishness. Obviously, that is very, very, very risky. And it's well noted that people get mouth cancer from smoking cigarettes, chewing tobacco, snuff, things like that. And literally, people have to get voice boxes cut out and jaw cancer removed and all kinds of things like this as a result of stuff like that. And you're telling me that's not, you know, telling me that's not a selfish proposition to your family and those who love you. Tell me that's not risky to continue doing that for years and years and years and years and years, you know. And there's people who, you know, scroll through social media and TikTok, and there's people who sit and play video games for 5, 6, 7 hours a day. And these are people who have spouses, girlfriends, fiancés, some of them children, you know. And how much time away from their children do you think gets taken with them scrolling through TikTok or Instagram, you know, or playing games online? You know, how much time do you think gets taken from their family because of those things, you know? How about people who don't have a drug addiction, but are 60, 80, 100 pounds overweight and have bellies out to here? I work with some of those too. You know, they claim to be Christians. Again, there's that word claim. Who am I to judge? Am I saying they're not Christian because they're obese? You know, because, you know, their addiction to food and the fact that they don't know how to control that and they lead a sedentary lifestyle, and, you know, states in the Bible your body's a temple. I mean, come on, dude. You know, look at your temple. You know, your temple needs some work, dude. I'm just, you know, and again, I'm not here to judge, you know, and I never would. It's just not me. It's not who I am. But everyone needs to be aware that before you point fingers at somebody who has an addiction to a drug, consider why they're doing that, you know, and whether consistent use of this substance helps them to make improvements in their lives, and that it doesn't just only decimate the quality of their life, that there are improvements to the quality of their life. And, you know, I'm a perfect example of that. You know, my only issue with Kratom is every once in a while I'll catch a conscience and be like, I hate taking this all the time. I need to stop. I should stop. You know, and then of course when I try to abruptly stop, because I've been taking it for the predominant four years or so, you know, then it becomes tough. Then it becomes a challenge, obviously, because you can develop a physical dependency upon something like Kratom. But when I'm taking it, you know, and if I can get past the mental fuck and, you know, the mental switch to where I develop a conscience and start feeling guilty about taking it daily, if I can get past that, then it's nothing but benefits for me. It gives me energy when I need it, and it helps me lay down and rest at night when I need it. And, you know, my use of Kratom, and I talked about this yesterday, helps me to be a more proactive person in my life. Helps me to be a better father, better husband, better family man. And you know, it's one of those things where, what is your relationship with Kratom? And it all goes back to that, you know. And if your relationship is such where you cannot help but go way overboard with it, and it's causing you problems like constipation, irritability, you know, to the point where you can't see, you know, your blood pressure's through the roof, you can't sleep at night because of the Kratom, you know, if it's to a point where you're way past that tipping point, you know, too much of anything is not good. And again, I reference food. Food is good. You have to have food to survive. Too much food, it ain't good anymore. You know, too much food, now you're 100 pounds overweight and your blood pressure's through the roof and you're at risk for a major cardiac event. You know, moderation has to be the key in everything. And I'll leave with this. And Jasmine mentioned yesterday too that her doctor knows that she takes Kratom. She told her doctor about it and said her doctor's response is, you know, it's probably better than me giving you something for, you know, depression or anxiety every day. Because any pharmaceutical that a doctor is going to give you is going to have side effects, you know. So where do you draw that line, you know? Only thing I take is Kratom. I don't abuse anything else, you know. There may have been times where my Kratom use could border on abuse, I guess. Take a little bit too much in one day, and got the Kratom wobbles a couple of times and stuff like that when I first started taking it. But I've kind of honed in now to where I'm on a regimen every day, and I pretty much take roughly about the same amount every day, you know. Where does that become worse in terms of this person's comment yesterday about being a selfish drug addict? Where does that become worse than my going to a doctor because I have issues with depression and anxiety, and that doctor giving me Wellbutrin or Zoloft or Xanax, you know, like a benzo or something? You know, would I be the same selfish drug addict if I went to a doctor and they prescribed me something? You know, would that guy's comment have been the same? You know, which obviously, I don't even know if he watched that video. He obviously hadn't watched any of my other videos, because, you know, I talk about this channel being my drug diaries. And someone who just happens across my channel and doesn't listen to any of my story, they may think that I'm just this raging drug addict at this very point in my life, and I'm just on here bragging about it and talking about it. Like, no, dude. If you want to know, subscribe to the channel, listen. Go listen to my story. You know, I've improved exponentially in my life. You know, and most of the things I talk about on here are my past. Things that I've done in the past, just to let you guys know that you're not the only ones that have done some fucked up stuff during drug addiction, you know. And that's part of my pull on here. That's part of my MO on here. These things are not current. One of the reasons I talk about the past is because I don't do those things anymore. You know, I don't steal opiate medications from anybody anymore. You know, I don't go looking through people's cabinets for narcotics anymore. You know, I don't do that. I don't have to. I have Kratom. And I've also gotten to a point where, as stubborn as I am, I have realized that if you can't take this at least relatively responsibly, then you need to completely just leave it alone. And I've reconciled with that in my life, and I've accepted that about myself. That, dude, if you can't take something responsibly, you have to force yourself to take something responsibly, or you're gonna have to put it down altogether because of who you are, because of your brain chemistry, you know. And that's where I'm at, you know. And like I said yesterday, when I take Kratom, or how about this, when you take Kratom, what do? Do you go somewhere and just stare at a wall and have no interaction with people, and you're just wasting away high on Kratom all the time? Or are you bettering yourself? Are you bettering the lives of those around you and investing into those around you when you use Kratom? You have to ask yourself that question, you know. I'm the latter of those two. But let me know, you know, in the comments, what does your Kratom use do for you? Why do you take it? You know, are you wasting away on Kratom, or is it good for you? I want to hear about those things, because we have to show these people out here that there is a way to take, and to take responsibly, to where its benefits accentuate your life and cause your life to be more affluent than what it currently is. And it breeds a thriving nature in people because of its mood lifting and energetic sort of effects, you know. And, you know, if you're a person that's just dumping Kratom in your mouth all day and then just sitting around just, I'm a Kratom zombie. If that's you, then you're not being a good representation for the benefits of Kratom. You know, I think I represent the benefits of Kratom. And tell me how you represent the benefits of Kratom. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate my loyal subscribers. I really do love you guys. We'll see you next time. Peace.